Chapter 191. Chu family thriving. Descendants of the sword, immortal, are everywhere, the flame holding the sword. Morning. The sun had just risen when the first ray of sunlight hit the city of Chu family's sword palace. The city wall, as tall as 30 feet, was built with white jade stones. Under the sunlight, it reflected a dazzling light. On the back of heavenly thunder swift tiger, an earth-grade spirit beast. Han Yi rode through the streets toward the towering sword palace at the city center. The Chu family of Fuyao resided in the middle of Fuyao State. Even though it was described as a city, Chu family's sword palace was actually a vast fiefdom covering an area of 800 miles. From the top of a distant mountain, it looked like a country within a state. This represented the power of the Chu family in Fuyao State. 9 generations of the Chu's ancestors, or all immortal swords and numerous sword cultivators, were born from the family. None surpassed them. Fuyao State was one of the top powers among the 10 Earths. During the Middle Age, it was a land abundant with immortal swords and prodigious sword talents. Many were born with a sword heart clarity, including extraordinary people who harbored sword embryos since birth. The inheritances of Sword Palace were abundant. The Tanshan Sword Sect, Luofu Sword Palace, Fuyao Sword Palace, and Baiyu Sword Sect, all were once powerful forces during the Middle Age. However, after the Great War at the end of the Middle Age, they were absorbed by the Fuyao Sword Palace. This force, having inherited the immortal sword and all its greatness, was the only one of its kind. Along with Flying Bull Martial Temple in Flying Cow State, and the North Kangdao Alliance in the North Kang State. These 3 were the apex of top-tier inheritances and renown in the Central Earth. As Han Yi looked around, the interior of the Chu family's sword palace was lined with orderly flying eaves and black tiles. From near to far, they spread out and seemed endless. What's more, he could feel that underneath the city ran a vigorous spiritual pulse that was flowing constantly. Upon entering the city, the intense spiritual chest started to rise rapidly, forming streaks of fog high above in the sky. The entire city had a spectacular view at even the major metropolitan cities his previous life could not match. So this is where Miss Chu lives. The geography and population of a place determined its wealth and prosperity, and Han Yi knew this well. Fuyao State appeared to be wealthier than Qingyun State, and much more lavish than the Great Jia's court. He had just entered the city and had already seen many sword cultivators carrying variously shaped swords, from thin to heavy to serpentine. It was rare to see anyone without a sword sheath in public. Their eyes were filled with confidence as they held their heads high, seeming unaffected by the demonic corruption. Every once in a while, children could be seen playing with each other with wooden swords on the streets. Indeed, the sacred land of swords in Central Earth does live up to its name, Han Yi said with inexplicable emotions. Every power that had been passed down from the Middle Age to the present had profound resources. The Immortal Gate was one, and so was the Chu family of Fuyao. The true strength of the Chu family lay in their vast fiefdom, which gave them control over 36 cities. Like grains of sand, the innumerable sword cultivators, numbering up to 100,000, all obeyed the orders of the Chu family's patriarch. In Fuyao State, they were indeed a local emperor. It was because of the Chu family's solid foundations and formidable strength in Fuyao State that other powers hesitated to provoke them. Even the Empress of Great Zhou had to behave politely with them. "It's you." The white tiger perfected. Just then, an outcry was heard from a group of youngsters leading a bloodline dragon horse. Turning around, Han Yi recognized them as the children he had met on the road a few days ago. The white tiger perfected. He muttered to himself, unable to remember when he had earned such a name. "What's your purpose for coming here?" The leader of the youngsters glared at Han Yi, as if there was an irreconcilable feud between them. "Why should I tell you?" Shaking his head, Han Yi felt that the young Wo's temperament was quite odd and that his upbringing was rather lacking. "White tiger perfected, do you dare to fight me on the question sword platform?" Lifting an eyebrow, Han Yi replied, "First of all, I am not called White Tiger Perfected, and secondly, are you sure you can defeat me?" He couldn't help but smirk at this. The boy persisted, "My father said that sword bearers should follow their hearts regardless of victory or loss. Without fighting, the heart demon would get the better of us. I have to fight you. I don't have time now. I'm busy with some important matters, and can't play with you," Han Yi said, feeling that the boy was immature. How could a Czech cultivator even engage in a battle with him? With a flip of his hand, he used the beast-taming talisman to collect the heavenly thunder-swift tiger, and leapt into the air, flying towards the front. Dontron, ignorant vos behind him, Han soon arrived at the front gate of the Chu family's mansion. There stood a majestic statue of a swordsman, both hands resting on the handle of the sword. It resembled a middle-aged swordsman. Han Yi of the Dragon Sparrow sect from Qingyun State is here to meet the head of the Chu family on behalf of my sect leader, he said as he ended his invitation to the servant at the gate. There must be a reason for Han Ye's visit, of course. Using the name of the Dragon Sparrow sect and visiting a disciple as an excuse, he could meet Chu Xianyu. It would be quite normal for the sect to express concern for Chu Xianyu after 3 years. After all, Chu Xianyu had not yet been expelled from the Dragon Sparrow sect. Coming swiftly, the invitation and Dragon Sparrow order were respectfully returned by the servant, who welcomed Han Yi in. The west door of the Chu family's sword palace slowly opened, making a humming sound. A moment later, the 2 dragon-engraved bronze doors, each weighing 1,000,000 caddies, fully opened. They revealed a 40 feet wide jade road that led directly to the depths of the mansion. In one glance, the end of the jade road was not visible. With the servant leading the way, for groups of people on horseback could be seen in the distance. They were rushing toward the west gate of Chu family's mansion at great speed.